Yeah, absolutely. So the 529 plan, it was named after the section in the tax code, and the primary benefit of opening a 529 plan is the tax benefits. A lot of states out there will give you a state income tax deduction whenever you contribute to it. Your earnings are tax deferred, and if used for qualified education expenses, your withdrawals are 100% federal tax-free and state income tax-free. As far as trying to understand the sea of 529 plans that is out there, it can be overwhelming. There's, as you mentioned, plans that you would invest with a broker, plans that you could go online and open yourself. As far as which plan is best, it really depends on the individual's personal situation.
But I think the key, Sharon, is, you want to look for the ones that have the lowest fees. You want to start these things as soon as you can, and they've just expanded their use, right? And not even just for college, but you can use them in some cases for high school and that sort of thing.
It really depends on what you want to use them for. And yes, you can now use them for K through 12 private school education, up to $10,000 a year. But the key is to understand whether you'll still get a state tax deduction for that, because some states don't allow that. So you want to consider that. Taxes should not drive your investment strategy. You really need to look at what your growth is, how long you have until your child is going to college, and also how comfortable are you picking your own investments. If you're not that comfortable, an age-based 529 plan may be great. It's going to be on autopilot.
A target date fund.
Target date fund, exactly. And it matures based on their age, so it's going to get more conservative as they get closer to college. So when we have a market turn, you're not going to be as worried.
Interesting.
Casey, I don't know whether it's a misconception, but New Jersey residents do not have to invest in the New Jersey state 529. You can choose any state's 529 plan and put money into it. But where and how do I find out which ones are better than the other ones? Where can I find out whether New York's is better than New Jersey's, is better than California's, is better than Texas's?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. It really depends on what your state of residency is. A great resource that I recommend to look at is savingforcollege.com. It's one of the premier resources that are out there. You can sort by your specific state, by broker sold plans, direct sold plans. You can see what the underlying fees and expenses are, and what tax benefits you would get, if any. It's all on that website.
Tyler, another great resource also is Morningstar, and they actually came out with an interesting study looking at whether states that were highly populated, big states, had better plans than smaller states, and they actually found out that bigger states do. And part of what the fee issue is the oversight fee, and the smaller plans may have larger fees, larger oversight fees. So you may want to keep that in mind as you're looking. And also, just because they have really generous tax benefits doesn't necessarily mean they're a really great plan, according to this Morningstar
What happens
report.
if your child chooses not to go to college and you've been using it?
You give it to the other child. You can change the beneficiary, at any time.
And how many
you want to go back to
But
grad
if I don't
school?
have another child?
You want to go back to
You can
grad
give it to
school?
me.
You said you want a PhD. You can use it for yourself. There you go.
But how many times are they transferable, and who's eligible to use them?
Well, anyone can. You can transfer the beneficiary to anyone that you want. You can put it for a niece, a nephew, a godchild. You can put it for, again, wait for yourself. You may want to go back to school. You can use it for yourself. So you are able to change the beneficiary.
And Casey, what happens if I withdraw money not for a qualified education expense?
If you pull money out of a 529 plan and it's not listed as a qualified education expense, you will pay ordinary income tax on your gains plus an additional 10% federal penalty.
But I can take out the, what I guess I would call the cost basis, the money that I deposited. That's already been subject to tax, right? So I can take that out tax-free.
Correct, but your withdrawals will be pro rata. So if you have any gain in the account at all, you will be withdrawing some of the gain every time you take money out of that plan.
Interesting.
And Casey, can you explain whose name the account should be in? And if everybody wants to contribute, are there any issues around, how to make those checks out, or?
And how much can you put in a year?
Another good question, yeah.
Yeah, so as far as how much you can put into it, it's subject to the federal gift tax limits, which is $15,000 per person. But the 529 plan does have a unique feature that the IRS allows you to front load it with up to 5 years worth of gifts at one time. Then you would subsequently file your gift tax return for the next 5 years. So you could really do 15,000 times 5 up front with all in 1 year. As far as who should own the account, that really depends on the personal situation and how you're planning on funding that child's education. The reason that I say it really depends is because if, say, for example, a grandparent is contributing to the plan, and it's the grandparents' plan. This will not show up on the FAFSA whenever the child goes to apply for federal aid. However, when they take money out of the 529 plan, it will count as income to them for the year, which will affect their financial aid. So it's really a timing thing.
Final question, Sharon. Are people putting too much money into 529 or for their children's education at the expense of putting money aside for their own retirement?
Unfortunately, people aren't doing enough of either.
Yeah.
But you should be funding your own retirement first. There are no scholarships
ahead
for
of
that.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
Because there are other sources of payment for college.
Even now, most people are using their own savings. They're using scholarships. They're using financial aid to pay for college. Again, you cannot get a scholarship for your retirement, so you want to make sure you fund that first.